And welcome to episode 313 of Geektown Radio. I am back this week with... Ray, how are you doing?
Hello, Dave. Good to be back after such a long time. Good to catch up again.
I know you've been off on your teaching holidays, and so I was trying not to bother you too much whilst you were sort of having your break, but nice to have you back on. So what have you been up to whilst you've been off?
Well, it has been a busy, about 6 weeks, I think, and I really did make the most of my summer, which means I was out a lot. I didn't spend too much time in, but I did catch a good few TV series and finished a few off, and then I've suddenly gone back to work, and my entire social time has gone and zipped into nothing.
Yes.
But I have managed to get a few things done. So I'll do my August film. So I know every month this year I've been trying to do my film of the month. I didn't watch a lot in August, to be totally honest. And one of my friends, we sat down in his sofa one night and we watched this film with Angelina Jolie called Those Who Wish Me Dead. It's not an outstanding film, but from the small pool of films I watched in August, I'm going to recommend it as my film of the month, particularly for the absolutely brilliant Aidan Gillen and Nicholas Hoult who play the baddies. They're just absolutely brilliant actors, and they're so horrible and evil. And yeah, it was really good. It's got John Bernthal in it from Walking Dead fame. He takes sort of the lead alongside Angelina Jolie. I really, really enjoyed it. So if you want to go and find it, go out there. I can't remember what program we watched it on, really, or what network we watched it through. I think it was downloaded the film from something like Now TV or Sky Cinema, something of that along those lines.
Right.
And then the second film, my September film, yes, it's only the 13th, 14th of September at the moment, but I'm going to recommend Shang-Chi without a doubt. I've seen it twice this week. That's why I'm recommending it. So my very limited social time saw me going to the cinema on Thursday night with a very avid Marvel fan friend of mine, and it was so good. And then my other friends today said, do you want to come again? And I was like, I'm going to do that. So I decided to go along, watch it for a second time today, and it's just as good. And today I got the opportunity to sort of watch it and like look for those tiny little details and those tiny little elements that you sometimes miss on the first screening. And it's a really strong film. Yeah, I'm really happy about it.
I haven't been to see it yet. So without spoiling anything, how does it compare to some of the other MCU movies? Where would you kind of rank it?
Yeah, so for me, it's a really good origin story for a new character with the appropriate amount of callbacks to the environment they are living in post Thanos. So there are nice little touches where they reference Endgame, and that's really good. But we are setting up this character's history. There's a really good throwback in there as well. If people may have seen the posters, even there's a throwback to one of the earlier films in Phase 1 or 2, which is really good. I think it is, to me, it's coming out slightly better than like the first Ant-Man. You know, it's up there in its ranking. It sets a good tone. There's a lovely balance of comedy and action. My friend who I went with tonight, she came out and she loves the Marvel films alongside us, but she sometimes gets overwhelmed when it's lots of guns and shooting and makes it really violent. Mm. And because it was much more about martial arts and there wasn't all that, she really enjoyed it. She really engaged it. There's a real fantasy element to this film as well. Right. So yeah, I'm putting it up there with like just on top of the Ant-Man. I'm saying it's definitely within the top 15, top 10 of all the films in the cinematic universe. I preferred it to Black Widow, so that's where I'm putting it. I know I did Black Widow as my film of the month a couple of months ago, and I think I preferred Shang-Chi to Black Widow.
Okay, that's good. That sounds like good. I mean, generally, it's had very high ratings, very positive reviews. I know it's been doing well at the box office, which is good news, because obviously there was the whole thing about them not releasing it straight onto Disney Plus, which is what they did with Black Widow, which got them into a lot of trouble. So it's nice to see that people are actually going out to the cinema to see it, which is good. I personally haven't been yet. I'm kind of contemplating it. I'm not sure whether I might wait. I don't know. Maybe I'll go and see it at the cinema. I'm not sure yet.
Definitely a recommendation. And one real star turn, and we both agree with this, is Awkwafina. She's sort of plays the sidekick to Simu Lee's Shang-Chi, and she's just brilliant. And she's the comedy element, and Marvel are so good at doing this now, bringing in that sub character that brings that lightness to the script and doesn't make it too dark and too depressing, which I think that's where DC have got stuck a lot of the time. It's too dark. And no, Awkwafina, absolutely, I recommend watching it just for her alone. She's really good.
Excellent. Definitely a thumbs up, and definitely one that I will certainly see at some point. Whether I get to the cinema or not, I don't know.
Fantastic. So those are my films for the months. I just whizzed through some of the series that I finally finished over the summer. Finally got round to watching Mayor of Easttown. Absolutely superb. Now understand why Kate Winslet has been winning all those awards. Absolutely fantastic. Real depth of the character. Really good series. That wasn't, sometimes I find those series with like 55 minute episodes really long, but I didn't. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to watch the next one. From the sublime to the ridiculous, I watched Cooking with Paris on Netflix. I do not understand how she survives, but I'm not a fan of anything like the Kardashians and things like that, but Kim Kardashian came out really well in her episode. So she cooks with Paris, and she basically says, this is how you turn an oven on, Paris. This is a spatula.
I hadn't actually realised this was a thing, but this is a cooking show with Paris Hilton, for those.
Basically, yeah. So she's ready to get married and have a child. So she wants to do some cooking with her friends. So she invites so Kim Kardashian comes around one day, her mum and her sister come around one day, and it is as ridiculous as it sounds. If you want to laugh for 25 minutes, I don't think I'm going to take any of the recipes away, but it was genuinely just, I needed it. There's a bit of time towards the end of the summer where I was really sort of struggling with my workload. So I just used to put this on in the background. But yeah, that was good.
Oh, dear.
I finished Love, Victor. I heard Matt talking about it a few weeks ago. Absolutely beautiful sort of ending to that series. It's already been renewed for series 3. Looking forward to that. Atypical ended, obviously, final season. I was disappointed by the ending slightly. I'm going to be brutally honest. It's beautiful into the way they ended it, but I wanted a little bit more as the end of a series. And they knew it was the end of the series before they went into making this. But, I watched The Chair, Sandra Oh's sitcom on Netflix, 6 episodes, where she plays the chair of an English department. I really enjoyed it. I hope that gets renewed. It was funny. It had a lot about feminism and ageism, and there was sort of looking at how the university structure and the tenure system for lecturers sit in. And I thought it was quite good. And again, that really was a pleasure to watch. And then I finally finished Harlequin. I think earlier this week, actually, I finally got around to watching the final episode of that, and that was bonkers towards the end as well, with the whole setup to the wedding and what happened to Psycho. And it was, anyway, so those are the things I finished. I started watching Greg Davis's The Cleaner yesterday.
Yes.
Not sure how I feel about it. Helena Bonham Carter and Greg Davis in the first episode. I was a bit like, I'm going to give the second episode a chance.
Yes.
I'm hooked on Vigil.
Yes.
And I'm going to miss tonight's episode. So me and Dave record this on a Sunday. So I'll be catching up with that in the week. I'm watching Late Night MASH. I've got the name of this program wrong so many times this week.
Yes.
I've been calling it Weekly MASH, Nightly MASH, everything. Late Night MASH. Nish Kumar's gone over to Dave. They've thrown a little bit more money at it. There are a lot more young, fresh comedians in it. It's very satirical. There's a balance as well that, as much as they're being hated on for being too lefty, there is some right-wing stuff coming through there as well. And I started the FBI's and 1 episode left of White Lotus. And I think that is what I have been watching in the last 6 to 7 weeks since I last been on. So Dave, it's over to you.
Late Night MASH, I'm really enjoying, and they do seem to have kind of upped the budget for the set a little bit, certainly. Yeah. Whether they've actually kind of thrown that much more money at it, I don't know. But I mean, it is basically the MASH report, but slightly longer. And it's the same show pretty much. The Cleaner I watched as well. I know what you mean. It is difficult slightly to gauge, but I mean, it's Greg Davis. He's a crime scene cleaner. I really laughed at the opening episode right at the very start where he kind of turns up at the scene and there's sort of blood everywhere or over this room, and his main complaint is the fact that he's supposed to be going out for a curry and this is going to take him forever. That I thought was really, really funny. And he's cleaning, and then there's a neighbor that turns up, and that gets a bit strange. Strange, and then Helen Bonham Carter's character appears. And it ends up in this sort of weird dream sequence thing. It's very odd. It sort of jumps all over the place. But it's sort of interesting as well. So kept my attention enough for the sort of half hour of when it was on. I'm like you. I'm not entirely sure about it yet. And I want to see, I think the second episode is due out next week. So I will go and watch it then. But it's an odd one that in terms of, it's an adaptation of a Belgian, I think, or Swedish comedy, I think.
German or so. I did hear it was European, yeah.
Yeah. So it is an adaptation from somewhere else. I don't know how surreal the original one is. And it was very much based around, I think, the comedian that was doing it, who's quite a well-known comedian in his native country, I think. So it's an interesting one. I want to see more of it because it is intriguing, but it is a little bit weird. It does jump around quite a lot. So I've been doing that. I am also watching through Vigil. I'm completely addicted to that. It's one of those solid BBC Sunday night dramas that they do so well. On the gaming side of things, I've been playing Surviving Mars, which had some new DLC come out called Below and Beyond. And Surviving Mars is basically a sort of city builder where you've got to try and colonize and terraform Mars. They've added the ability to actually explore the underground of Mars and also mine on asteroids as well. So you end up with like 3 different locations you can go into, and it gets a bit plate spinny of sort of trying to do and build out your stuff on the main sort of Mars base, and then you kind of got to go to the underground bit because something's gone wrong, and then something needs to be sorted out on an asteroid, so you're jumping around backwards and forwards. But it's extending the content, and it's good fun as well. It is worth getting. I mean, the base game is great and is worth getting anyway, but the Below and Beyond DLC is out now, so that is worth looking at. Lucifer 6th season started as well. That is now on Netflix. I'm about halfway through that. You watched this, don't you?
No, I tried watching it about 4 years ago. I watched the first season when it was on Amazon, and I started season 2, and then life ran away with me. And then when I see it gets to 4, 5, and 6, I'm like, I'm just too far away from it now. Right. So I never continued watching it. So is it coming through good? Is it good?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty consistent throughout, particularly since its move on to Netflix. I think they handled it really, really well, and they kept on ordering more and more episodes. So we are on the 6th and final season. I'm about halfway through it at the moment. It's interesting how they're handling this 6th season, because, I mean, the 5th season ends with him changing jobs, shall we say, and quite a dramatic sort of shift in the lives of the main characters. It feels almost like a little bit of a coda to the original series this season, because it is still working as a procedural like it always has done, but they're having to tweak it in certain ways because of the fact that they're not doing the jobs that they were previously doing for the past 5 seasons. They're doing something else. So they're having to sort of work out inventive ways of getting the procedural elements in there and keeping that running. And they're doing that actually quite well. I don't know how it ends yet, so I can't sort of go completely into it, but definitely one to continue with. It is, you should go and watch it because it is just a wonderful, wonderful show. And there aren't that many episodes because the Netflix ones are only sort of 10, 16.
I do love Tom Ellis. I've always loved him as an actor, even when he was in his Miranda days. I really, I thought he was a really good actor. I think I just got my timings wrong getting into it. And then with a lot of things that I get to, if they get to too many seasons along the way, I'm like, oh, it's not worth it now. And I give up too easily.
Yeah, it is one that is certainly worth sort of binging your way through. You don't have to think about it too heavily either. It is a fun take on a kind of procedural. I mean, it bears no relationship to the comic book it's based on, because it's based on a Neil Gaiman comic book, which is a lot stranger and just completely different, other than the basic premise that the devil gets bored and moves to Los Angeles. That pretty much is the only thing they took from the comic books almost. So, but it is a wonderful, wonderful series, and I am very interested to see how they end. I've been managed to avoid spoilers of sort of the end of it online, so I will be watching the rest of that over the next sort of few days, so I can talk a bit more about that next week. The other thing I watched, because there was a few new shows around this week, Wolf, which is a really sort of dark, funny dramedy, I guess, is probably the way to look at it. It's from Paul Abbott, who did the UK version of Shameless, or the original version of Shameless, and No Offence, which was just superb if you ever saw that. In this, it stars Babu Cisse as a forensic criminologist. So he's the person that they call in to go in and check body parts and that sort of stuff when there's a crime scene and things. It's very, very Paul Abbott. It feels very similar to something like No Offence. I didn't see Shameless, but it's very much in that same sort of vein, and that kind of franticness to it as well. It has got a lot of procedural elements to it. It's sort of, somebody put it as, it's a bit like if Paul Abbott had done Silent Witness, is how they described it. It's 6 parts, so it's 6 episodes, very much a sort of story of the week thing. So there is a death at the start of each episode, and they're having to solve it, and that sort of crime side of things is pretty much standard procedural stuff, kind of like Bones, of sort of finding a person. Like the opening episode is a guy that's been fed into a meat grinder, so there's sort of weird, gruesome deaths generally. I don't know what the rest of the series will be like, but certainly that seems to be the sort of things that they're going for. The team that he has around him are very kind of blasé about these sort of things, because they see this sort of death every day. So Babu Cisse, who plays this lead, who is this science professor called Wolf. So as well as dealing with the forensic stuff for the police, he's also a professor at this university. He also is dealing with a number of mental health issues as well. So that comes up. It's got Amanda Abington in there from Sherlock. It's Natalie Tenya from Game of Thrones, Adam Long, Naomi Yang, Talitha Wing, and Shaniqua Okwa, and Christine Tremoko is the other star of it as well. If you like things like No Offence, if you like Paul Abbott's work, definitely want to go and watch. It's on Sky Max now, and I think all the episodes are available on demand, so it'll be on Now TV if you want to go and kind of binge your way through that.
I've seen it on the front page of Now when I logged in earlier today, so I knew it was there. I think it went onto my long list that I write. I write a long list now of things I'd love to see if I have the time.
Yeah, as I say, it's only 6 episodes. They're about 45 minutes long without the ad breaks. So standard sort of hour-long show. Very, very funny, very dark, very, very Paul Abbott. If that's your sort of thing, definitely worth watching. The other thing I wanted to mention, which, again, you're the wrong person to be on the show for talking about this because it will mean nothing to you, but Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, if you haven't seen, that game is getting a remake for PS5 and PC. For the uninitiated that don't know that game, it is a classic RPG. It's from BioWare. It is a phenomenal piece of work. It is one of the most cinematic games ever created. It's deeply embedded in the Star Wars Legends lore, although whether this folds it into the canon stuff now, I don't know. That's going to be sort of interesting to see. The people that are doing it are a company called Aspyr, who are doing it in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games and Sony Interactive Entertainment, hence the reason why it is a PS5 and PC exclusive. Aspyr are better known for doing ports of other video games, and this will be the sort of first thing that they are, that they are essentially porting an old game, but it is a complete remake from the ground up. So it's going to be brand new graphics. It's going to be using the full extent of the PS5 hardware, or at least that's the plan for it. We don't know when it's coming out, but it's called Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake. There is more information about that up on the website, but I'm incredibly excited for that coming out. And certainly it's one of those games that shows you how cinematic games can be. And the first game, even though it came out in 2003, was an incredibly cinematic experience and kind of the thing that really put BioWare on the map. I'm very, very interested to see how they handle this, and very excited, hopefully, that comes out really, really well. That's all the stuff I've been watching this week and Gray has been watching this week. Let's move on to some TV and film news. So we kick off the TV and film news with the renewals, cancellations and pickups. The first one is a sort of cancellation. It's actually coming back for a final season. They've announced Final Space Season 3 is coming to Netflix on September the 16th, but they've also said that will be the final season as well. This was a sort of animated sci-fi comedy in the vein of your kind of Future Armory sort of stuff, that sort of animation style. It's not a Matt Groening thing. It was somebody else that did it. But yeah, that is coming back on the 16th of September, but it will be the final season for that. In terms of the renewals, Good Trouble has been renewed for a fourth season over at Freeform, so that's coming back. Real Time with Bill Maher is being renewed through until 2024, so if you like those sort of political things, that is going to be around for a while yet. Gossip Girl, the reboot series, has been renewed for a second season at HBO Max after it broke all its records for its debut, so that's been going down really well. And Star Trek Picard, there's a few other bits of Star Trek news later on as well, but Star Trek Picard has been renewed for a third season on Paramount Plus and on Amazon in the UK. If you've watched any of this stuff, because the Gossip Girl is on BBC iPlayer.
Yeah, when I was a bit younger, I remember watching it, and I think I got to like season 3 when I was younger and then gave up on it. And then I saw it all coming on to iPlayer, and I genuinely thought it was just dropping all the old episodes, you know, that they've done with a couple of... Yeah, and then someone said, no, it's a new season as well. And I was like, a new season? Of course, I remember talking about it on here with you. I was like, oh, I didn't know BBC had got that, but I haven't been watching it. But it's just, again, something I just will not be able to fit into my life. So yeah. I haven't gone and visited, but I've seen it all over the iPlayer front pages. And like, I'm going onto the iPlayer to look for things I want to watch, like the new series of QI is coming out. And, you know, it's just covering the iPlayer, like both on my iPad and on the main screen of the TV. It's just absolutely promoting it out as much as they can.
Yeah, they have got all the original series on there as well. But yeah, they released the original series, all 7 seasons, I think, of that, and then also bought the new series as well. So both of those are on there, and presumably they'll put the second season on there. Good Trouble is also an iPlayer show as well, so that is also up on there. The original show, which is The Fosters, I think that's on
Disney Plus. Or Star, yeah.
Yeah, on Star on Disney Plus. But the Good Trouble they picked up for BBC 3 on iPlayer. That will be coming back for a 4th season as well. Third season we're expecting some point over the winter, but we don't know exactly when yet. In terms of pickups, Motherland Fort Salem, second season should be on iPlayer right now. They really low-key dropped that because they haven't really been announcing it or anything. There was just a post on the BBC 3 or the iPlayer social media. Somebody had been asking about when's season 2 dropping, and they went, oh, it'll be on Sunday. And that's it. That's the only reference I can find to it anywhere. I can't find it in the BBC listings and the press listings. I don't think I've seen any ads for it. It's really odd. But yeah, the second season is apparently now up on iPlayer. So you'll be able to go and find it on there. And given how popular that show seems to have been, I mean, certainly over here, there certainly seems to be a very dedicated fan base for it over here. And I know Daryl is a huge fan of it, and he says it's one of the best of those sort of fantasy teen drama-y things that they've done for a while. So I watched a couple of episodes of it, and it was good, and I just haven't kind of managed to get back round to it. But they've announced that it's coming back for a third and final season as well. So second season is up on there.
I can confirm it is up there. I just checked.
Good. So yes, that 2 seasons of that up there now. Other pickups, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist has been saved by, well, we don't know for how long, but it has been saved by Roku for at least a holiday movie, which is coming out this Christmas. Second season is also coming up very, very soon on to E4 as well. As far as we're aware, that's going to be towards the end of this month. So that is coming up relatively soon. We just haven't got an exact date for it. But after the second season, it has been saved for the big holiday musical extravaganza, basically, which is going to be on Roku. And if you're wondering how to get what Roku is and how to get Roku, the Roku channel is available on Sky Q. It's available on Now TV boxes. So if you've got Now TV hardware, it's available on that. It's not if you've got the Now app, but if you've got the Now box, it's one of the other apps you can get on there. And you can get it on Sky Q. You can get it obviously on Roku boxes because Roku make their own sticks. It's available on various different places, and some TVs I think have it as well built in. You know, it's an app that you can get on some TVs. So
I think it's on mine, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few places you can get it. And the Roku channel is actually great. It's got a whole bunch of completely free older content on there. It's got all the stuff from Quibi is up on there, and they've started now renewing some of those Quibi series for new seasons. We talked about Most Dangerous Game recently. That has been renewed for another season with Christoph Waltz back. They've now picked up this and saved this for a Christmas movie. We don't know whether that will then lead on to another series. They haven't specifically said one way or another. They say they're doing it. I think it's being done in such a way that it will be a satisfying conclusion if they want to conclude it. But there may be a possibility that they can go on and make a third season if it goes down extremely well. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But, you know, it'll be nice to get some form of closure to it and them to be able to round it off in some way. I adored that show. Just
so good.
It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the second season of it. Taskmaster Season 12 has got an air date, so that will be back on the 23rd of September at 9 p.m. on Channel 4. I still haven't got round to watching any of this. I know you're a big fan of Taskmaster.
Yeah, really, really good. I'm really looking forward to Season 12. Apparently, I've read on forums, Season 13 has just finished filming as well, so they're very far ahead. So what they'll do is they'll have Season 12, and then the very last episode of Season 12, they'll tease the celebrities that are going to be on Season 13, and they were filming, I heard a rumor, the Champion of Champions 2, which were the winners from episodes for Season 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So there's lots going on with Taskmaster, and I knew Channel 4 had them for 6 seasons, or that was the original deal. So Champion of Champions will be 3, so you'd think they'd get 14, 15, and then they'd have another Champion of Champions 3. So that should make it up to their 6 they had to do, I believe.
Awesome. So. I recorded it last time with the intention of watching it and then never got around to it. So I will go and watch some episodes of it. I mean, it's one that I've not started, and I'm sure I'd really enjoy it if I actually did. But I just, there's so much stuff around that I haven't had time. So some of the other Star Trek stuff that has been mentioned, Star Trek Picard, that is returning for Season 2 in February. They've said Star Trek Discovery Season 4 has got a US air date. It's November 18th. So it means it should be on the 19th on Netflix, but Netflix UK, as they tend not to do, haven't announced the date yet. But it is coming on the 18th in the US, and it's always been the day after over here. So we're assuming it's going to come on the 19th of November. Those are the two big Star Trek things. We still don't know exactly what's happening with Strange New Worlds. They did announce some of the characters that are being played and who's playing who on that show. Apart from, we know some of the obvious ones because they were in Enterprise, but they've announced some more of the characters for that. So you can go and find some more information about that up on the website. There was a big Star Trek Day thing. That's why we got all the announcements for that. And Star Trek Prodigy, which is the kids show, that is launching on Paramount Plus when Paramount Plus launches in the UK. We don't know about Strange New Worlds. It was mysteriously missing off the Paramount Plus list when they announced all the shows on there, which is really strange because it's not been announced anywhere else either. So either it's been pre-sold to somebody like Amazon or Netflix and they haven't announced it yet, or it is going to be on Paramount Plus. I mean, it's going to end up somewhere, I'm sure, but we don't know exactly where. Moving back onto British TV, Sister Boniface Mysteries, which was a spin-off from the TV show Father Brown, that's been picked up by UK TV Drama in the UK, whereas I think Father Brown runs on BBC One. I've never seen any of this. It's a sort of daytime thing.
I've never seen any of it either. No.
But yes, they've picked up the spin-off for UK TV. But Father Brown is made by BBC Studios. The spin-off is also made by BBC Studios. BBC Studios also own UK TV as well. So if you're wondering why it's not gone to BBC One and it's gone to UK TV Drama, that's basically why. I mean, I think they were talking to BBC One about running it, but they decided that they didn't want to, so it's going on to UK TV Drama instead because they own it. So why not? And the other bit of news that dropped this week was that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be leaving the Mr. and Mrs. Smith series she was supposed to be doing. She was going to be co-starring in it with Donald Glover, but apparently there has been some creative differences between the pair. It's all fine. They're still friends and stuff. It's just the direction of it is slightly different to the way that she wanted it to go, apparently. And they were supposed to be co-creating it together and co-leading it, but they've just decided it's not working out, and she's decided to go off and do other things. And I mean, she's fairly busy anyway at the moment. And I mean, he's fairly busy as well, actually. But so he's taking creative control of it, and they will recast her on screen role. It's a bit of a shame because I do really like the pair of them, and I would love to have seen this with both of them. If you've not heard about it, Mr. and Mrs. Smith is basically a TV series based on the movie that had Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie in it. And they're a sort of bored, or come across as a bored middle-class married couple, and are surprised to learn that in actual fact that they're both hiding the fact that they're assassins, and they each get notifications to kill each other, essentially. And it ends up being this sort of thing with the pair of them going at each other. So that was the original set up for the film. The TV show is basically doing a similar sort of thing, and it was supposed to be co-created by Donald Glover and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but now it's going to be Donald Glover and somebody else taking the lead role in it.
And if you read enough into the internet, the rumor has it is her creative differences might be related to Indiana Jones. There are rumors out there that she might be working with Harrison Ford on the next Indiana Jones. I'm just saying it. If you look deep enough into those stories about why she's left, there's lots of chatter around her meeting Harrison Ford and Spielberg about that.
Yeah, I mean, there has been certainly some talk of that. I think she's actually in the indie movie as well. So whether that means she's got involved with writing behind the scenes as well, possibly. She did just do No Time to Die. She was involved with the script, working on the script for that. So she's had that. She's also involved in a competition series called Screenshot with Olivia Colman and Ed Sinclair. I think it sounds like she's in a sort of judge position for that, because that's a new TV series which is for comedy writers and performers who have theatre projects and are trying to develop them for TV. That's a new competition series which is apparently coming up. That looks kind of quite interesting. And obviously Phoebe Waller-Bridge has a lot of experience in that because of Fleabag. Fleabag started out as a stage play and then ended up as a very, very successful TV show. So she's been involved with that apparently as well. So she's fairly busy right now, because, Indy 5 and that. Like I say, just coming off the Bond film. Donald Glover is apparently on post-production on Atlanta as well. So Atlanta season 3, he's in production on season 4, and he apparently is writing the entire thing himself. He's also involved in Hive, which is a musical drama for Amazon with one of the writers on Atlanta. They're both pretty busy. It'd be interesting to see who they get cast as the female lead now in it. We'll see. Moving on to some other news stories, Georgina and David Tennant are starring and producing a new Jekyll and Hyde inspired thriller for Peacock. Peacock, of course, is the NBC streaming service, which we are getting over here as part of Sky fairly soon. We're supposed to be getting that before the end of the year. David and Georgina Tennant, obviously husband and wife team, who's very, very well known. It's going to be starring David playing a disgraced journalist who stumbles across a story that could resurrect his career. But when he learns he's seen something he shouldn't have, he is now the target of unknown adversaries who will do anything to silence him. On the run, as people around him go missing or die, a serious accident has an extraordinary side effect, and he realizes there are monsters in this world and he may just be one of them. He would star in it and exec produce alongside his wife. It doesn't say exactly what Georgina will be playing in this, because it does give the impression that she's going to be on screen as well. It's written and exec produced by Michelle Fazakas and Tara Butters, who are the people that were behind things like Agent Carter and Emergence, which was quite a fun little sci-fi show, although it only lasted one season, with the Emmy, BAFTA and DGA nominated Julia Ann Robertson from Bridgerton, The Catch and Blackpool, exec producing and directing. Blackpool was the show which basically kickstarted David Tennant's career, so that's sort of why he's involved in it as well. So I sort of update to Jekyll and Hyde by the sounds of it. Any thoughts?
Well, there are so many versions of Jekyll and Hyde out there. I say this as a teacher and had to teach a part of it last year, and there was a terrible, terrible version. I can't believe I was making the poor children watch it. The name of the actor escapes me now, who was one of the original guys that was supposed to be playing Wolverine before Hugh Jackman got the part. But there are so many variations. Do you remember we had the James Nesbitt one not long ago as well?
Yes.
I don't know. If it's done, it's like, you know, we in Britain, we love it, don't we? When we remake a show over and over again. And I'm sure in our lifetime, we're going to have another set of Sherlocks being made, and we're going to have another set of Agatha Christie's. So I'm sure it'll go down well. We Brits love it. And it's obviously got Tennant behind it, and therefore it's going to have an absolute throng of fans coming and watch it.
Well, yeah. And seeing David and Georgina back on screen again, I think it's going to be kind of interesting, because we've only really seen them together in sort of a run on Doctor Who, I guess, which is where they first met in the first place, and staged as well, where they're playing versions of themselves. So I'm kind of interested to see whether she does end up on screen as well, and rather than just producing, and it ends up being sort of a thing with the both of them. That would be kind of interesting to watch. Described as sort of Jekyll and Hyde by way of a conspiracy thriller, which I think at least is a slightly different angle to take on it. I like the writers behind it and the showrunners behind it. As I say, they were involved in Agent Carter. They did Emergence, and Emergence was a really solid little show. I unfortunately didn't find an audience on ABC, but I really quite enjoyed that. I thought they did a good job with it. So, coming to Peacock, which launching on Sky Q and Nair TV later this year, supposedly. So we don't know when this will land. Presumably this will be next year at some point. Peacock's got very little at the moment, but he's got quite a lot of interesting stuff coming up. So we'll have to wait and see when that actually turns up. It is technically still in development, but it feels like one of those things that's probably going to go forward, I would have thought. Moving on to other ex-Doctor Who's, Close to Me, which is a new psychological suspense drama, has been announced by Channel 4, and that stars Christopher Eccleston and Connie Nielsen. It's a 6-part series that follows the story of Jo Harding, played by Connie Nielsen, who is a woman who seems to have it all: a beautiful house in the country, a loving family, and Rob, her devoted husband, played by Christopher Eccleston. But following a fall, an entire year suddenly vanishes from Jo's memory. As she's struggling to piece together everything, Jo discovers that her life wasn't quite as perfect as she imagined, and that someone will do all they can to keep a terrible secret from her. I rather like the sound of this. I think this sounds kind of quite interesting as a sort of psychological suspense thriller, and seems to have a decent cast in there. Christopher Eccleston's usually pretty watchable. What are your views?
I do like what Christopher Eccleston does, and he normally does choose really strong scripts and strong dramas. Often he only does one season of these series, but I really like Connie Nielsen as well. I always have to remind myself which Connie she is. I get the Connie Nielsen and the Connie Britton mixed up sometimes. But the Channel 4 dramas that they're putting out at the moment, as much as they've been getting rid of some of our really good shows, they've got some really strong ones coming out, and definitely would be interested in this. I see a bit of it was filmed near to me, so definitely might be interested in that. So
Connie she was in The Following. She plays Queen Hippolyta in the Wonder Woman and Justice League movies as well. That's probably the other thing people know her from. And she was in Law and Order SVU. She's been in a few different things. It's probably a face that people will recognise, I would have thought. I don't know her as well, obviously, as I do Christopher Eccleston, but I mean, like you say, he does tend to generally pick really interesting roles. So, I'm quite intrigued by that. I think that could be quite good. That is coming in the autumn at some point. So it's already filmed. We don't know exactly when it's going to land. It's based on a novel by Amanda Reynolds as well. I don't know the original novel either, but so it's called Close to Me. It's on Channel 4. It'll be one to watch out for, I think. And lastly, Fox are once again looking to bring back 24. There are discussions. It's like almost like Groundhog Day, this, because I'm sure we do this like story once a year. But Fox are apparently in active creative discussions, as they described it, about bringing back 24 once again. They've talked about this many, many, many times, and there's been so many different versions of it. So obviously 24, as I'm sure most of you know, starred Kiefer Sutherland as a counter-terrorist agent, Jack Bauer. He dealt with all sorts of threats, from like presidential assassinations to nuclear bombs going off, bioterrorism, cyber warfare. Pretty much for terrorists tried it, Jack was there to try and stop them. The unique thing about the show, obviously, was it played out in real time. That was always the idea of it, which slightly got screwed up when they decided to recommission it for shorter seasons towards the end, and it ended up being 12 episodes. But, you know, generally it plays out in 24 hours. That was sort of always the idea of it. Fox's entertainment president, who is a man called Michael Thorne, has said there is still a possibility. There are still some discussions with the producers on a take that we have yet to hear. There are active creative discussions that are happening. So it's in no way guaranteed that it's coming back. They're just talking about it. I mean, they did try, and they did manage to get one version of it to air, which was 24 Legacy, which had Corey Hawkins in the lead, playing a completely different person, playing a new CTU agent who, again, was having a very bad day. They also have talked previously about other revivals where they could take that 24-hour format and fit it onto something else. So the suggestion was something like a legal drama where somebody was being sentenced to death row and they had 24 hours to get a reprieve for him. There was other suggestions as well about setting it in fashion houses, or, you know, some sort of event that had a particular deadline and doing it in real time. That was sort of the suggestion. They also looked at a young Jack Bauer series of him sort of becoming a CTU agent. That was another thing that they thought might work. Obviously, all these suggestions were coming out because at the time Kiefer Sutherland was tied up on Designated Survivor, and then he did the Quibi series The Fugitive, although, I mean, that's only the length of a movie, so I mean that doesn't take up that much time. Kiefer's actually slightly more freed up at the moment. He's got a thing called The First Lady, which is he's playing Franklin D. Roosevelt in. That's a Showtime series which is coming up. It's had a whole bunch of different people in it. He's just on a film with Chris Pine, but he's not actually on a sort of straight network show at the moment. So there is a possibility you could maybe tempt him to come back if he would be prepared to step back into the role. And I don't know, maybe it's been long enough, maybe he would be prepared to come back. I think the thing is, what most people want to see is at least one more season just to resolve getting Jack out of that Russian prison that he was stuck in at the end of it, because that's sort of where they ended it, and we don't know what happened to him. That's never been resolved. So fans of the show would like at least one more season with him in that resolves that and has a slightly happier ending for him. I think that would make people a bit happier, but whether that happens, who knows? Did you watch the original 24? I don't know.
I did, yeah. I watched it. It was around university days for me. Watched it. One of my friends did a very strong parody of it during university because we did broadcasting as a degree. Of course, yeah. And then I want to say about 8 to 10 weeks ago, my friends who I was formerly in the bubble with during lockdown said, shall we start 24 together? We literally got through one episode and then our calendars never mixed again until about 4 weeks later. I went, you should just watch it without me because I don't think I'm going to get around there enough. Yeah. Yeah, I did watch it. But I just feel like we're always talking about either reviving 24 or reviving the X-Files. It's just like we're always on that whole cycle of, you know, they're just, are we running out of original ideas that they keep having to go back to some of the most popular ones of that time period? We do so much about cancellations, don't we? And some great programs are cancelled and you just think, are you right cancelling it? Because in about 8 to 10 years' time, we could be covering a story where you're trying to revive it because it was cancelled too soon or you didn't wrap up a story. I suppose it's just a frustration, isn't it, that we have at the moment?
Yeah, I think there is a difference with something like this compared to something like X-Files. I mean, X-Files, I think, had an end to it, and they had movies and come out. There was ways that they could wrap it up, and yet they still kept on bringing it back because it was a big property. I think with 24, if you could bring it back with Kiefer Sutherland as Jack Bauer, and there was unfinished business at the end of that. You know, they did leave him in a pretty awful state, and you could pick that back up. It would make sense to do, even if they did it as a one-off event series. That would sort of make sense, I think, and would work. So, yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, but there are certain shows where I think you can go back and you can do a little bit with it. And I think 24 is one of them. You know, I'd be happy if they did one season just to resolve that storyline, and as long as it's got Kiefer Sutherland back in the main role.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see, is Kiefer Sutherland back in the main role, basically. So we'll see. We'll see whether anything comes of it. I mean, they are still talking about it, and, you know, it's Fox, and they are looking for new shows to go out, particularly live action stuff. They've got a lot of good animation on Fox. Their live action stuff, not so much. So we'll see. So that's all the news we've got for this week. We'll just finish with some highlights for next week on TV. Highlights for next week. We have Jack Whitehall Travels with My Father is back for a fifth and final season. They apparently have got sick of each other. That's on the 14th of September. That is coming back for a last season. Apparently that is going to be. So that's on Netflix. All Creatures Great and Small, that Channel 5 series, that is returning for a second season on the 16th of September at 9 p.m. That is landing. I didn't see any of that, but it went down very well for Channel 5. It appears to be quite popular for their original drama. So Final Space, as I mentioned earlier, that's coming on the 16th of September to Netflix for a third and final season. Then we have some new stuff starting up. Young Rock, the comedy which focuses on the life of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, that is coming to Sky Comedy on the 17th of September at 8 p.m. Sex Education, that's back for a third season. That's on the 17th of September on Netflix. The Morning Show, which was utterly fantastic, that is back for a second season on Apple TV Plus. That's on the 17th of September. It's well worth going to watch if you can get yourself an Apple TV subscription for that. The Emmy Awards are going to be broadcast. That is going out on Sky Max on the 19th of September at 11 p.m. they have said. So if you want to watch the Emmy Awards, they are going out on Sky Max over here. Manhunt: The Night Stalker, which is a sort of second season of the Manhunt series, which starred Martin Clunes as DCI Colin Sutton. That is coming back, which obviously follows a new case because it was very self-contained, the first one. That is on the 20th of September on ITV at 9 p.m. Then we have Great British Bake Off is back. That is the 12th season. That's on Channel 4 on the 21st of September at 8 p.m. Also returning, raised from the dead, Nevermind the Buzzcocks is back with that Greg Davis once again. That is coming to Sky Max. That's on the 21st of September at 9 p.m. Very much looking forward to that. I loved the original. Did you watch Nevermind the Buzzcocks?
I did, yeah. I'm very looking forward to it. Obviously, I said in the previous record, I miss the Simon Amstell element of it and Phil Jupitus, but I'm going to tune in. I think it's a really good quiz. I really enjoyed it when it was on.
Yeah, and they've got good people involved with it, so it's going to be different, but I think Greg's great with those sort of things, so I think that's going to be kind of fun. Y: The Last Man, which is a adaptation of a comic book set in a somewhat of a dystopian future where everything with a Y chromosome has been killed by a virus. Been going out, I think, already in the US, and it seems to have gone down pretty well. That's coming to Star on Disney Plus. That's on the 22nd of September for the first episode of that, and that's Y: The Last Man. Dear White People is back for a fourth and final season. That's on the 22nd of September. Then we have Star Wars Visions, which is an interesting little anthology series based in the Star Wars universe. It's almost Elseworld kind of things, what if sort of things, but they're done in the style of a Japanese anime. So looks really kind of visually quite interesting, but that's Star Wars Visions. That's coming on the 22nd of September as well. And RuPaul's Drag Race UK returns to BBC Three and iPlayer iPlayer. That's on the 23rd of September at 7 p.m. That will be landing if you are a fan of Drag Race. That's all the stuff coming up this week. We're starting to get some new shows landing.
Oh my God, so many. The list I've written from today's episode of things I need to be watching, I'm gonna give up work.
Yeah, so never mind the Buzzcocks, I'm very much looking forward to. Y the Last Man, I love the comic book, so I'm very much looking forward to that. The morning show, if you've not caught that, get an Apple TV Plus subscription because it is well worth watching, and there's some great stuff on Apple TV anyway. I'll take a look at the Young Rock. So there's some really good stuff coming this week. Really interesting. For you, if they want to go and find you and talk to you, where can they find you?
They can find me over on Twitter at Gray the Geek. I'm normally moaning about consumer issues, but also a bit of TV stuff, a bit of what's going on in my life. Loads of tweets yesterday about the winning of the US Open Grand Slam final for Emma Raducanu. For any sports fans who do listen in, I was watching that and I flooded my Twitter with loads of tweets about that last night because it was a very exciting match.
Yes, and I should also say very good of Channel 4 and Amazon to manage to work out a deal where it actually aired on terrestrial TV when she was in the final. I think the fact that Amazon agreed to do that was really good of them. So, and I mean, obviously it cost Channel 4 money, I'm sure, but, the fact they could have just said no. So, the fact that they agreed to do it, I think it's really good. For other people that are involved in the show, you can, of course, find Bex over on twitch.tv/Trista Bytes. That's BYTES. She's streaming daily and doing loads and loads of different stupid things over on her Twitch channel. Always fun to go and watch. If you want to talk about either gaming or retro stuff, or there's loads of stuff over there. So well going to watch her. Matt, you can go and find over at entertainmenttalk.org for lots and lots more podcasts you can find over there. We're doing Walking Dead at the moment, so you'll be able to get those on Wednesdays, and he's got lots of other shows he's doing on entertainmenttalk.org. And Daryl, you can find at hollywoodnorthnews.net for all the TV series that you love that are shot in Canada. For us, you can go to the website at geektown.co.uk throughout the week and see all the latest air date information. If you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, email us on podcast@geektown.co.uk. Leave a message on the website post. Find us at Geektown on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Geektown, on YouTube at youtube.com/Geektown, and on Instagram at Geektown UK. That is everything. We shall see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.